Our epic European trip continues as we hit the beautiful streets of Bratislava. We try our luck at a casino, revisit an old friend, and even have a close encounter with the UFO before taking in some drinks, taking in some eats, and then we will send a postcard home to our loved ones and then take in the rest of the sights on this, our final day in Bratislava before heading to Prague. If you're new to the channel, there's a couple of days left. Catch up on it all. Subscribing is free. Drop us a comment, but let's dive right in. Hey travelers, that's me, Brian, also known as the OCD Traveler. And that's my beautiful daughter, Maddie. As you can probably tell, Maddie just graduated from high school. And before she leaves me forever, we decided to take an epic trip. Only backpacks, 14 days, 7 countries, traveling Europe, and you're invited. So let's go. Welcome to day number 8, our second day in beautiful Bratislava.
All right, so it's day 8 in a pretty humid Bratislava. Really digging this Airbnb compared to the last one. Here's a good look at the cityscape. We're doing a terrible job vlogging, so really not doing any individual content. Not recapping our days, and then I looked and one of our recap days actually had time-lapse on. So, and the other thing is I'm not using good mics, so this could be a total disaster, but Bratislava is feels small, and they refer to it as the small big city because it's one of the smallest European capital cities apparently from a population standpoint. It's going to be a hot day today. We just looked, not a lot left to do. We had a very inclusive walking tour yesterday, but we know we've got to see UFO Tower on the UFO bridge. So right now I'm making some baguette with butter, ham and cheese, and then we'll slowly start our day. It's a slow burn though, because it's 9:45 and we're just kind of taking it easy because we haven't had many taking it easy days. Been on the go for a week, so feeling good, but gonna take it easy. I've had a pot of coffee, and yeah, we'll start our day slowly but surely. Buon appetito.
It really is amazing how much better baguette, lunch meat, and cheese taste in Europe.
All right, it's very late. It is 11:52. And we're just now leaving the Airbnb, taking the steps, 8 flights of stairs down, and we're going to see Čumil, I think it's called, which is Men at Work. We saw it yesterday, but didn't get our picture there. And then we've got the Blue Church. We're going to go to the riverfront. We've got to do the UFO observation tower. It's a busy day. Weather looks to be about 80 degrees and humid, so it should be good. Here we go.
And in just a couple minutes, we are at Čumil. So at just after noon on a weekday, it was a much different vibe at Čumil, not the throngs of tourists. So we were able to take a couple of selfies and send them back to mom. And then we were back on our way through the streets of Bratislava. And leaving the main area, we pass a familiar statue we saw the day before.
The Nazi statue.
All right, allow me to ramble on as we depart Men at Work, that statue, and make our way through the main squares of Bratislava. I will call out the city is beautiful. It's clean. As you're about to see, the public transportation is excellent and plentiful. You're never more than, a couple blocks away from getting onto a tram or a bus. You can see those cool umbrellas overhead that reminded me of Portugal. But coming up in just a little bit, you'll also see one of the most ornate post office boxes I've ever seen. We're going to get onto this tram. You'll see it in just a little bit, but soon we'll be pulling up to the Presidential Palace, and I'll check back in with you there after just about 20 more seconds. Now tell me that's not the coolest post office box you've ever seen. The Banco Casino is over to the left. We're going to be checking in there right after the Presidential Palace.
Presidential Palace in Bratislava.
As you can see, we started at the fountain, which sits right in front of the Presidential Palace and is one of those quick stop spots people tend to walk right past. But just behind that is the palace itself. Still an active government building today, but with open grounds that make for a calm break from the old town crowds. We definitely enjoyed it. And then from the palace, we literally just crossed the street to the Banco Casino, which is inside this Crown Plaza that you see in front of you. It's one of the bigger casinos in Bratislava, and from the outside, it looks like an easy, low-key stop, especially if you're staying nearby. So naturally, as a gambler, I decided to check it out. Maddie wasn't super excited, but Hey, when in Rome or Bratislava, let's try to play some craps, right? Well, not exactly.
So after the presidential palace, we went into the Banco Casino through the Crown Plaza, and they immediately stopped us and said you have to be 18, picture ID with your passport, and you have to become a member, which we were not. So we did the walk of shame out. Now we're picking out where we go next.
Now, from the Palace and Casino, we just crossed the street to a tram stop to make our way over towards the UFO Tower. Bratislava's public transportation, as I mentioned, is not just great, it's easy to use. And they do use these old school yellow ticket machines, which if you have coins, you'll pay right there. Not many of them seem to be equipped with credit card readers, but that is available as well. So you choose your ticket type, you pay at the machine, and it prints instantly. Now, again, we bought a 48-hour public transit pass. I recommend that. It's going to cover trams, buses, basically anything you need. Just make sure once you're on board, you validate your ticket if you have a paper ticket, because an inspector could check and give you a fine if you haven't gone through the validation step. That was not necessary with our 48-hour pass. But next, we were just waiting for the tram that would take us over towards the Danube River and get us closer to our walking destination, which again is the UFO Tower, which we'll take you into next and tell you a little bit more about as we get closer.
So next up, a 1 kilometer walk to the UFO observation deck.
Now, as we time-lapse this, you can see UFO Tower there on the bridge in the distance, but I messed up.
Take 2 to the UFO bridge. Google did us dirty.
Look at those river cruise ships. We're crossing the Danube on the SMP Bridges pedestrian walkway, and the views open up immediately with those boats lined up and the city stretching out on both sides. From there, it's down the stairs and into the main ticket office, because the only way up to UFO Tower is by elevator. So let's grab some tickets and we can enjoy some of the best views in all of Bratislava.
2 of us.
One student or other?
Yep.
Do you have student ID?
Do you have a student ID?
No.
No. You don't have your Rockford?
May I ask you where you're from, country?
USA.
Thank you. It's 2380. Record?
Yep.
So as you can see, $21.87 with a limit of only 10 people up the elevator at a time. But we waited our turn, and it made us feel a little bit more exclusive. But after a short wait, we are getting on the elevator to take us up to the top. I think that took around 90 seconds. Now, when we landed, you were opening up to this lounge area. We made a beeline right for the stairs. We'll come back to the lounge later. But for now, we wanted to hit the outdoor observation deck, because if you're coming up here, you want the full view. So up these last couple of stairs, and then the view opens up immediately, as you can see, for views over the Danube River. Looking back towards the right side of the city, you can see the river cutting through Bratislava with bridges, rooftops, and neighborhoods stretching before. Well, that's not a neighborhood. That's largely the freeway. But there's a pan. There's the Danube River. As you slowly pan to the left, you can see the city tightens up, Old Town, and then the castle right above Maddie's head. Castle Bratislava out in the distance. What a gorgeous day to take in the Danube and to look over an awesome European capital city. Going up the UFO Tower is definitely something you want to do. And look at this cool little detail. These padlock hearts. Couples leave locks as a symbol of love, and over time it's turned into a layered, almost accidental piece of artwork. Really, really cool. Now, to put the UFO Tower into perspective, it stands about 95 meters tall, which is roughly 310 feet. That's relatively small compared to the John Hancock Center in Chicago, which rises to about 340 meters, or the Eiffel Tower in Paris, standing at just over 330 meters. And all along the base, you'll see these comparisons, just so you get a point of reference as to the height of the UFO Tower compared to some of the other popular high-rises across the world. But it rises above the Danube, and it feels much more dramatic than the height alone would suggest. If you're in Bratislava, I would say this is a must-do. Check out UFO Tower. The views are awesome. But as we've come to do, we decided to take a couple of selfies to send back home to Mom. Pretty basic selfies, but then this really, really cool panoramic view of the city as a whole. I hope you enjoy it as much as we did making it. And then after taking in the sun for a couple of minutes on the observation deck, we decided to come back down to the UFO Tower bar. There's both a bar and a restaurant, as you can see. Glass enclosed, really good views. We can see the Danube River. It wasn't that busy this afternoon, but we took a look at the menu. They did have food offerings that we decided to pass on, and we just decided to order a couple of drinks, which are coming out right now.
Have the flower spritz here. Thank you. Yeah, of course. There you go. And for you, the macaroni.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Enjoy.
Cheers.
Now, Maddie opted for this very pretty Edelflower Spritz, which tasted largely like wine, but was definitely beautiful. Not quite as beautiful as Maddie is with her drink. And then as for me, I decided to check out the Negroni, which had a very cool ice cube in it where you could see the UFO Tower as well as the bridge. Now, I will say at just over $25, the trip to the bar was well worth it. It was a really cool vibe, as you can see from some of the artwork there, and the coolest urinals I've ever seen in my life. That's right, that is the urinal kind of overlooking the city. Going to the bathroom in a bucket. I don't know why I'm repeating it that many times, but it was a great trip. I'd encourage you to check it out if you're ever in Bratislava. But here we are going back down the elevator and back outside into the hot sunny day. And then here is a view from the opposite side looking up into the UFO Tower. Just a really, really cool place. Unexpected at the top of a bridge. So with drinks at the UFO behind us, we hopped back on a bus and headed over to the Eurovia Galleria. Not to shop, it was almost 3 p.m. This is a really cool riverfront mall, which you're about to see. But the priority for us at that point in time was food. It was an easy stop right along the river and a solid place to grab lunch before everything starts slowing down for the afternoon. Now, I'd love to tell you we went to some great Bratislavan area. We did not. We ate at the Pilsner Urquell Original Restaurant, so think of Prague and their Pilsner beers, and we decided to try out a unique Pilsner beer that I had to take over for Maddie.
It's a Radler. Yeah, Radler Sprite Maddie got. It is a typical green beer with some Sprite in it. So she's drinking the Aperol Spritz instead. How's the Aperol Spritz? You said batter, not like battery acid?
Yes, it's on the farther end of the battery acid spectrum.
All right. Cheers.
Dang, you drink that quick.
It's sweet.
Or all the foam just go away.
A little bit of both. I'm probably on the pop side of it now.
Ow.
Maddie has some pasta, some cheese baguette, and then I had some sort of a cabbage with sausage in there. Oh, it's sausage boiled in beer. Cheese baguette. So this restaurant, I mean, it included the beer with the largest head I've ever seen on it in my life. This was all foam, as you can see. I would love to tell you that this was one of the best meals I ever had. It indeed was not, but that's what you get for eating at a chain restaurant at a mall when I should have been out again testing local fare. But the important thing is we got some food in us and we were feeling a little bit better and went about our day. If you've been following the vlog, one thing we committed to doing is sending a postcard from each of the cities that we went to. So after lunch, there was one mission and one mission only.
Post office time.
So then it was back out into the streets of humid Bratislava, and where we awaited and got onto yet another tram. Did I mention that we really got our money's worth out of our public transportation card? And you should as well. I don't know. I love riding these trams, love the buses, love the trains there. Nice and easy. I also love the fact that in Bratislava, you could go directly to the post office to buy both a postcard, fill it out, and mail it away. Look at this beautiful old post office that we went to. In total, this only cost us $2.14 for the postcard itself, as well as for the postage. So we quickly filled one out and sent it off to my wife and son, and it was back out into the streets of Bratislava to continue on with our day.
Postcard is sent. Now we're gonna go home and cool off for a little bit. Back at the flat.
That's right. There is no rest for the wicked or the weary. So 2.5 hours later, we were back on the streets of Bratislava with more sightseeing ready to be had. We're headed to our spooky tour in Bratislava. We'll see how spooky it is for the next hour. You know, I've mentioned this before, but I love the free tour app. You can get walking tours local to an area. We decided to do the Spooky Legends of Bratislava tour just for an hour, hour and a half to round out our day before wrapping up in Bratislava.
So now, if you still want to drink water or anything, feel free. You'll start at 7:05, okay?
As with most cities, as the sun went down, the whole feel of the city kind of changes. We ended up wandering through the older parts of Old Town, around the walls, underneath the palace, where everything gets quieter and a little more atmospheric at night. This part of Bratislava has a lot of stories tied to it, and even without getting into details, you can feel the shift. A little bit fewer crowds, some darker streets, and a totally different energy than during the day. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to dive into all of it here, but it was one of those nights where you slow down, look around, and just take the city in. Between the old stone, the narrow walkways, and the lighting, it felt like a completely different place than we've seen just a few hours before. We went ahead and tipped our tour guide, thanked her for a great tour, and then made our way about into the city. Now look at as the sun slowly starts to set, there's another look at the main cathedral, and then off in the distance where we were before, UFO Tower. As twilight started to set and the streets took on a different tone and feel, you got the cafe culture in full swing, tables packed, you can see the lights glowing, and that slow evening energy where people aren't in a hurry to leave. We were just moving through these old town streets, letting the atmosphere kind of wash over us as day continued to shift into night. Just one of those times the city feels a little bit more lived in than touristy. Conversations, lighting, the stone around you. It's less about checking things off, more about just enjoying the day. And then we started to notice cool things like this. Take a look at that gate overhead, part of the old Lorenc Gate, which once stood as Bratislava's medieval city walls. The gate's long gone, but it's a small reminder of how the city used to be laid out. Really, really cool. We had one final stop, the Blue Church, which we're headed to next.
That is a blue church.
One of the most unique stops in Bratislava is this, the Blue Church, officially known as the Church of St. Elizabeth. Everything about it stands out, from the soft blue exterior to the matching roof tiles and details that almost make it look unreal. It was built in the early 1900s in the Art Nouveau style, and you can really feel that influence in the rounded shapes, decorative lines, those pastel colors. Even if you're not normally into churches, this one feels different, lighter, more playful, and completely unlike the Gothic and Baroque buildings you usually see around Europe. It's a quick stop, but definitely worth it. The Blue Church feels like a monument and more like a piece of art, tucked away into a quiet neighborhood, and it's one of those places that ends up being way more memorable than you might expect. Check it out. If you love churches, this Blue Church is definitely unique and a must-do in Bratislava. Well, all good things must come to an end, such as our time in Bratislava. So if you've enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe. Do me a favor, drop a comment. What did you think about the video? And keep in mind, up next, 2 days in Prague, then Paris, then back to Michigan by way of Amsterdam. But as for the rest of the night, we just went into our flat, we chilled. I used the rest of the baguette with some ham and cheese and a little bit of butter. We just had a little snack before bed. We tried out some of these beers. This one was gross, so we dumped it out. Then we had a Radler, very little alcohol in it altogether, but we enjoyed just some quiet downtime resting our feet in our flat. But before we called it quits, we had to sign off on the guest book in our Airbnb. So as you can see, it says, my daughter and I are celebrating her graduation from high school or secondary school before she sets off to Michigan State University this fall. Bratislava was one of the many stops in 13 days, and this beautiful flat and the beautiful city only enhanced the memory. Thank you so much, Brian and Maddie. Speaking of Maddie, she's had a night, so I'll call it good. Please be safe out there, and please continue to follow our travels as we travel throughout Europe.